Hi, my name is Javier Sanchez, and I've worked in youth prevention for over 20 years. I love what I do. I love traveling around the country and working with young people and the adults that work with young people as they figure out how to experience life to the fullest in healthy, positive, and productive ways. Even when life catches you off guard, finding ways to find strength in the broken places. And here's what I know. Young people nowadays seem to be experiencing higher levels of stress and anxiety, fear of failure, fear of the future, than ever before. I was at a private school for a week a couple years ago, and I was working with the juniors and seniors. Prior to going, I met with the administrators, and the principal shared that for their seniors, they got rid of class rankings. And he said the reason why was because the highest ranking senior had a 4.7 GPA, and the lowest ranking senior had a 4.2. So it made no sense to rank these students from highest to lowest, top to bottom. He said, however, the level of stress, anxiety, pressure to perform, pressure to be perfect that these young people were going through was off the charts. And a lot of them were coping with that pressure in negative ways when it came to alcohol, tobacco, vaping, cannabis, and other drugs. What can we do to help our young people flourish and find strength and find a sense of significance and belonging in times that are often very stressful and very challenging? And I remember when I was there for that week, on the Wednesday, a young man came up to me before I got started. He was shaking and in tears. Now, he was a senior, 4 point whatever GPA, varsity basketball player. On paper, he was very successful. But he was shaking and in tears. And I asked him what was going on. He said, I'm afraid to tell my parents that I don't want to go to Harvard and study law. I want to be an elementary school teacher. I feel like that is my purpose, but I'm scared to tell my parents because I know how angry and disappointed they'll be. One of the things that I think adds to that fear of failure or that pressure to perform, and it comes in the form of a question that we as caring adults, as parents, educators, youth service providers, oftentimes ask young people. But what I've heard from them, because I ask them, do you enjoy being asked this question? And by and large, as I travel the country, most young people say no. And that question is this: what do you want to be when you grow up? And the reason why I have a problem with that question is, number one, when we ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? Really all we're asking is, what are you going to do to make money? That's all that really matters to me. That's all that really matters about you, is how you're going to make money, how you're going to make an income. We know that there is so much more. Hopefully we know that there is so much more to a person's identity beyond what they do to make money. We can think of plenty of millionaires and billionaires whose lives we would not want. So we know that money is not the key to happiness, the key to success, or the key to thriving. The other reason why I don't like that question is when we say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Think about that. That insinuates that in order to be or do anything significant with your life, you have to be a grown-up. You can't be or do anything significant right now. That comes down the line. So how do we reframe that question? The question that I ask my two children, the question I encourage parents, educators, youth service providers to ask the young people they're connected to, instead of asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? Ask the question, who and what are you becoming right now? Who are you becoming in terms of your attitude, your actions, and your aspirations? Like, what are your goals and aspirations? We do want our young people to be future minded. So if they aspire to be an engineer or a teacher or a doctor or in law enforcement or whatever it is, have those aspirations, but then we can now have a conversation about how your attitude and your actions and behavior can push you towards accomplishing that goal or achieving those aspirations. And once we reframe the question like that, young people can start to recognize their value and their significance right now. Not who they will be, but who they are becoming right now. I do a lot of work in South Africa, and in Zulu culture, the way they greet one another is by saying sawubona. And sawubona simply means I see you, or I recognize your value. And the response to sawubona is sakona, which means I am here. The more literal translation is, you have brought me into existence. As parents, as educators, as youth service providers, we need to be intentional about bringing our young people into existence by recognizing their value each and every day.